Senior advisor David Axelrod, who sort of gave the impression that they are going to compromise on the Bush tax cuts and go along with the Republicans who say that, frankly, we don't want anybody eliminated. We want tax cuts for all. The president comes back and says, well, no, that's not what we meant. Right. I'm waiting before I sit down with people. Alex, you're shaking your head saying, I'm not buying this little dance. It's
slippery White House behavior. And honestly, you'd think after healthcare, they would learn about managing the message and getting out in front of this and not punt to, I'm in Asia and we'll talk about this when I get back. I mean, the rhetoric is out there. Pelosi's called it unacceptable. The right has been less, I think, strident in terms of its assessment. But fundamentally, it's there. The White House needs to have a position. Sending David Axelrod to the Huffington Post, which is obviously a left-leaning publication, to say one thing and then have the Republicans, to have the president to double back on that. It's muddying the waters when I think if there's anything the White House needs to be doing, it's leading, it's managing the message, and it's having a point of view.
So that's what I don't understand. You would think that, as Alex said, when one of the criticisms of the president has been on one hand, on the other hand. This is somebody who campaigned continuously saying, absolutely, we can't afford the tax cuts. And I know what happened November 2nd, but how can you even send a small signal that you're going to somehow compromise on it when you were so clear? Did November 2nd really change it that much?
I think the MO for this White House that we've seen over the past 2 years is that their path is to be the most pragmatic as they possibly can, and they tend to just take the best deal that they think they can get. So in this case, they're saying we're going to compromise and we're going to temporarily extend the tax cuts for the wealthiest 2% of Americans in order to get the tax cuts for the middle class. So it's a compromise, and they think that this is sort of how you do pragmatic governing.
And not only that, there's no Rahm Emanuel there to put everybody in the same room at the same time. And,
first of all, keep in mind that he was there. He probably would cuss everybody out.
Exactly.
So maybe him not being there
they would be in the same room to get the message. And interesting enough, that's exactly what both Nancy Pelosi and President Obama said after the midterm results came in. We didn't do our message right. And now it looks like they don't even have a message. And if it does, nobody's told the president what it is.
Here's what the president said. He said no tax cuts to the wealthy unless the conservatives can show me how they're going to pay for them, which was a legitimate position to take.
Right.
And now to back away from that, he should still hold the ground. If you can show me, because that makes sense to the American people. Yes. Since everybody's talking about too much spending, show me how you're going to pay for them. I'll be more than happy to give them to you.
But here's what I don't understand. And again, when I read the comments from David Axelrod in terms of how the landscape has changed, it has been very clear by them saying, look, we want a tax cut for the middle class. But I think the even greater issue is how all of a sudden the middle class is now shifting. First of all, I'm not buying the notion that $250,000 a year is middle class.
Say it again.
I'm sorry. Let's just go ahead. Let's just get that off the table. Exactly. That's stupid. Okay. But now all of a sudden you're now making the point that somehow now $500,000 a year is now middle class. I mean, at this point, who the hell got money?
Right.
I mean, because I know somebody middle class going, I got about 60, 70,000 between me and my wife, and how in the world is that? Are we now lower class?
Trying to spread it out among three children.
I don't understand how they have screwed this up. This is going to add $700 billion to the deficit over the next 10 years. And all the Republicans have talked about, if they've made one promise in the last 6 months, is we are going to stop government spending, we are going to trim the deficit, we are going to get our fiscal house in order.
Well,
this is a win-win situation for the White House.
You know what one of the problems is, though, Alex, is nobody's talking about the spending side of the, i.e. discretionary spending.
Right.
We're still at war. And we want to make sure our soldiers and our service women are taken care of. No doubt about that. But we've got to cut down on the spending side of the ledger and the issues such as Social Security, Medicare, and those things ain't going to be on the table, cuts. Because you know why? Because older Americans are the one who put the new guys in Congress.
And here's the fundamental problem. Of course, in the Deficit Commission, you've had the two chairmen came out with their particular cuts, but the panel hasn't voted yet. But they come out and they present it. But the reality is, of a $3.8 trillion budget, the discretionary spending only amounts to about $500 billion. So the real savings, if you really want to tackle anything, will come from Medicare, Social Security, and defense.
Right.
Republicans have said we will not touch defense.
Right.
Democrats have said we are not touching Medicare, not touching Social Security. And you're absolutely right. Those same senior voters who are out there with the Tea Party folks saying deficit, 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 oh, but don't touch my stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
This goes to the heart of it. And the last point I want you to speak on this, and that is you also have a reality that after health care, I don't think this Congress or any politicians have the guts to touch a major issue like Social Security, Medicare, and defense. Or even immigration reform. They don't have the guts.
But this plays if the White House is smart, this plays right to their health care reform argument, because health care is one of the largest elements of the budget that's going to cause the budget to increase in the out years. Discretionary spending by its nature can be changed this year, and because it's discretionary, can be changed next year. So what they have to look at are defense, Social Security, and Medicare.
No.
I mean, and health care.
No, they're going to look at one of the issues they're going to look at.
I didn't say what they were going to. I said what the numbers say they need to look at.
What they need to look at is ESEA, NCLB, whichever they're going to call it, race to the top. All of that is discretionary. Every dollar of it is discretionary spending. There also are funds within the Justice Department, whether my city might like the COPS program, your city doesn't, and that's all of that is discretionary spending. And in immigration reform. Because the DREAM Act is one of those issues that the Deficit Commission brought up.
But I'll still go back to it. Discretionary spending, about $500 billion. The big cuts on the stuff nobody wants to touch.